And welcome to Hero Power. I'm your host, Avanties, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Zerotio.
What is up, gang? We have a grand Gala krond planned for you tonight.
Oh, we are not going to hear the end of those Galakrond jokes for the next year, so get used to it. Or
Maybe two.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. It has been a quiet week, mostly on the Hearthstone front.
Yeah, till
Zerotio, how
very
have you been
recently.
doing in game this week?
Good. I've had a lot going on in my personal life, so I haven't been able to play as much as I've wanted. I did end the month out at rank. I was able to finish rank 1, and I used the deck that we're going to be playing tonight. And I wanted to make a legend push, but I also am preparing for THL coming up, so I had to do some deck scrims and some theory crafting to try to open the gate. THL season starts tomorrow, so
Okay.
I'm really excited for that. But I had to play some decks not necessarily good with, try to find that third and fourth deck in my lineup. So I tanked my rank a bit, but at that point I really didn't. To me, it was learning these decks for this upcoming season was more important than getting legend because, as we know, and we'll talk a little bit about later, getting legend isn't as important as it used to be.
That's very true, and I'm looking forward to discussing that. I unfortunately have not gotten to play hardly at all. I logged in, knocked out my dailies. I had fully intended on planning to play last night and today to check out this deck that we're playing on the show, and lo and behold, I run into some car issues today. My car is now in the shop. I am vehicleless, and it took most of my day to get that squared away, so I did not get to play anything. So I'm really looking forward to checking out this Galakrond Warrior deck that you sent over that we're going to be playing on tonight's show.
Yeah, it's a good deck. It's good in the meta right now because a lot of people are trying to figure out what they're going to do because it's the beginning of the month. They tend to gravitate towards aggressive strategies, and with recent changes that have happened in balance changes in the meta and possible changes coming up, you'll probably see a big fluctuation in the meta going into the end of the month.
Yes.
And it probably won't stop there, but we'll talk about that more when we get to the news.
In fact, we don't have any new emails or iTunes reviews, so let's just jump right into that discussion. So Dean Ayala, Iksar, for those of you who know him from the from Team 5, tweeted out...
I want to say real quick, I love that his nickname, his gamer tag is Iksar, which is a race from a different gaming company and a different MMO.
Right.
So there's a big story on that he's talked about on other shows. But I think it's awesome that he's known as a race from EverQuest.
Yes. So he tweeted on January the 3rd, rank distribution for the end of November 2019. Data displays a player's highest attained rank during the season must have played a game to be counted, a little different than the data we posted back in 2014. He says, I imagine rank floors make the biggest difference. And on this, he posted a graphic that we will link to in our show notes, but rank 25 to rank 15 make up 63% of the total player base. And then, of course, rank 15 to rank 10 is 19% of the player base. Rank 10 to rank 5 is 12% of the player base. Mm-hmm. And rank 5 to rank 1 is 6% of the total player base. And those players making legend is only 0.3% of the player base. What do you make of these numbers, Zerotio?
So I expect this, and he kind of alludes that 2014 numbers were before the rank floors, and the rank floors kind of help elevate this. Looking back at 2014 numbers, the 25 to 15 is 75% at the time, where it's 63 now. The 15 to 10 is 17.5 instead of 19 now. The 10 to 5 is 5.5% instead of 12% now. And then the 5 to 1 rank was 2% instead of 6% now. Now, this I expected because, first off, players are just getting better. And, players are staying at those rank floors and kind of hitting them and kind of living at their rank 10 home, 15 home, rank 5 home. What really surprises me, and this is something I'm worried about, is the 2014 numbers have legend obtained at 0.5% of the player base. So what this tells me is a lot of those players that are in the 5 to 1 are not pushing for legend. They're happy to be in that 5 to 1. Now, the question is that a good thing? There's less people in legend now.
Yeah, and I think over time people have found that maybe it's just not worth the time needed to push to legend. Like, if you're not getting legend in the first few days of the month, is it worth investing the time to grind up there? I mean, you're gonna get, what you're gonna get. You're gonna get your 5 chests with your golden epic, but is that enough of a reward to invest in that grind?
Well, there was another reward in 2014 that they don't have now, and that was HCT points.
That's true.
And that system no longer exists.
The ladder is not as, because back then it was like the top 200 got points, and now only the top 50. Or
back then, if you got legend, you got a point.
Okay.
And then the top 200, you got substantial amount of points. If you were going to compete in the HCT, you were pushing for those top 200 finishes, or top 100, top 50, because you got substantial amount of points. But I remember I bragged the first time I got legend. I actually showed up in the HCT player list. I ended up having like 2 points to my name, but I was there. So it was like a carrot on a stick for me. It was something that I had obtained, kind of solidifying myself, saying, hey, if I wanted to compete in competitive Hearthstone, I have points, so I could. But that's not there anymore. This new Masters or Grandmaster system doesn't care about your finishes on the ladder. You could literally stay at rank 25 and go to one of these Masters tours, blow it out the water, and get invited into Grandmasters.
Right. So there was an interesting conversation in our patron-only Discord this week where Ridiculous Hat mentioned that he feels like this leans towards Hearthstone as a casual game with a competitive sub-community. Yeah. And I thought that was a really interesting perspective because do you feel like, is that kind of the same way you feel, that Hearthstone is a casual card game that has a minority that take it seriously?
So I believe that is the case, but I also believe it's always been the case. The difference is from 2014-15 to now is that competitive sub-community is so much smaller now. It's more dedicated. It's players that want to compete and are basically pushing through all odds in a bad esports system to try to compete, be competitive, like your Appas from Coin Concede. Appa, grinds and constantly plays in these open cups and grinds ladder to try to get that small percentage chance to be invited to the Masters Tour. Where before, all you had to do was show up and compete, play on the ladder, go to these dream hacks, go to these WESGs, go to these Geico tournaments, and get your invitations to the Hearthstone Championship Tour. And then you got to be in that feeder system, and now that feeder system really doesn't exist anymore. So while it's always been a casual game with a competitive sub-community, that sub-community had a lot of people. thousands of players, and tens of thousands of players.
But
now,
you were talking about, even now you're talking about that competitive group being small. Just in the last couple weeks, you've had some big names announce they're leaving and or retiring, including Centilal, and just recently Amnesiac has said, that he just doesn't have the fire he once had for competing in Hearthstone.
And I don't think it's so much that they don't have the fire, it's that Blizzard's not giving them the fuel. Sure, they have that spark. They've always had that spark. But if that spark can't land on something and catch fire, which it did in the HCT system, but now with this Masters Tour system, you don't know if your spark's going to catch anything. So I totally understand a lot of these players, especially these long-term seasoned players, getting out of the way and saying it's not for me. The problem is there's only maybe 500 truly pro players that I can just list off that I know are out there grinding and competing, where it used to be thousands of players. Now, does that make for a higher quality? I would say yes, if these tournaments were televised, but a lot of these tournaments aren't even streamed or anything. When was the last time you watched competitive Hearthstone?
Gosh.
Yeah.
I watched a little bit of the recent collegiate event, and that was probably it.
And don't you remember every time I'd come up to your neck of the woods visiting my in-laws, I'd pop over to your house and we'd grill up burgers or a steak
and
or
just
something.
Turn on the tournament. Yeah.
Yeah, we were like, what tournament's playing this weekend? We just open up Switch and open up Twitch and find competitive Hearthstone, and there's something going on, whether it's WSG or it's Geico or some Red Bull tournament or DreamHack. There was something going on, but Blizzard has stifled that growth so much so they can basically keep it all the televising just to their systems, but they're not doing anything.
Exactly.
Like right now,
exactly.
Grandmasters,
If they were doing tournaments, once or even twice a month, to where there was something to watch regularly, but they're not. They've like you said, they've shut down all the third party events. You don't have DreamHack. You don't have any of the EU events that used to be so much fun and well produced, and it's just it feels like there's nothing to do and nothing going on in Hearthstone.
Yeah, and I miss the days of getting with 2 or 3 of my buddies and carpooling down and sharing a hotel room to a DreamHack in Atlanta and meeting up with our other half a dozen to a dozen friends that have done the same thing and eating lunches and competing for 2.5 days.
So now my next question for you is, do you feel like this is something that's coming from Blizzard, or do you feel like maybe this is Activision going, hey, you guys are spending too much money doing these events, you need to cut it back, we've got to cut costs somewhere, so we're going to get rid of all these events, we're going to localize everything to our Twitch channel, and that's going to be that? Do you think this is a Blizzard thing, or do you feel like this could be an Activision thing? So
I think it's a mixture of the two. I said it before, and I'm going to go back to it. I think Hearthstone Esports died when Che Cho left. They've handed the reins to this new guy who I don't even know his name, and they've probably told him, hey, make it work, and he just doesn't know what he's doing. I think now, mind you, Blizzard and Activision have probably cut his team down sizably, like they did anything that wasn't game development, connected. So he probably is running on a fraction of the size that Che had. So part of that blame is not with him. But I think they've said, hey, we've had to limit your resources, but make it work. And this guy just doesn't know how to do it. I think if Che Cho was still there with the restrictions that this new guy's been given, that he would probably do a better job. Okay. I really think it's not only management and leadership and executives, stifling the growth because of profits, but also the person put in charge just doesn't know what he's doing.
So if you Google Blizzard Esports director or head of Blizzard Esports, the only thing that comes up are articles from last June when Kim Fan, who was the director of Global Esports, left Blizzard.
Yep.
There are no other announcements or news pertaining to that since that time.
I don't know who's running this stuff.
Activision Blizzard taps former Reebok executive to head Global Esports. Dan Mazai, Mazei, will lead the company's growing competitive division. This is an article from September, and we've heard nothing.
So Dan Mazai is the guy who doesn't know what he's doing.
Previously served Reebok, where he led the apparel company's global digital content and social media divisions.
What does that have to do anything with esports?
No idea.
I mean, you brought in some guy who pushed sneakers to run your esports? He has no idea what he's doing.
That's pretty obvious.
He likely has some Hearthstone members or a Hearthstone member that he's had that. I know there's a team of guys in the Discord that manage. They're basically they manage the tournaments, all the qualifiers, the Masters Tour qualifiers. Again, but those are all just 9-to-5 guys that just grind away. None of them have any real leadership or say in esports for Hearthstone. I really think there's just a lack of people that know what they're doing.
Okay, so if you go to his Twitter profile, he has head of global communications for Activision Blizzard Esports.
So he's a mouthpiece. That's all he is.
Yes.
Okay. And I'm only going to blame Dan because he's the only person I know to blame right now. If he is not communicating in a way that makes me confident that the Hearthstone Esports is even a fraction of what it was back in 2014 and 15.
And as is typical with all Blizzard, well, most all Blizzard, he has not made a tweet on his account since taking the position.
That's not surprising. I mean, for the global communications manager or director for esports, he does not communicate much.
Director. He says nothing.
Maybe that's the smartest way to communicate as a Blizzard employee, just saying nothing and you can never be blamed for anything.
All right, let's move on. This is getting my blood pressure
up.
Well,
speaking of communicating in tweets, we just talked about a tweet from Dean Ayala from last week or a week and a half ago.
Yeah.
He just tweeted, what was it, last night?
Yeah, so the first tweet was from 2 days ago. Then he tweeted again last night.
Last night. So last night he tweets, I'm just going to read the tweet verbatim. Planning another balance patch. We'll share more information next week as we solidify. Some of the Galakrond decks are just a touch more powerful than they need to be successful. Also contemplating light changes to non-Galakrond archetypes like Pirate Warrior and Death Rattle Rogue. So just before Christmas, they did a small balance patch, which a lot of people said didn't look like it was going to be enough. Now, since then, a lot of the people in the community I've talked to has said they're kind of happy with the small amount of buff or nerfs they did that have actually impacted the meta pretty positively. It's brought Shaman down to a manageable spot. It's brought up some decks, like the one we're playing tonight, Galakrond Warrior, that into a better balanced state that compete with a lot of these decks. It's brought out other decks like Priest that wasn't expected to be at all, or this Face Hunter. But he did say at that time that after the holiday break, they were going to revisit some of these balance changes to see if it's done its job. Now, this isn't promising they're going to do anything. This is just saying they're looking at solidifying some of these changes. But this is good. The fact that they're willing to look at touching Galakrond decks and possible changes to non-Galakrond decks, and that we should see details coming up this week. It says next week on the tweet, so at the time of listening to this, it should be sometime this week. I mean, even if they only change 2 or 3 more cards, this is positive. Just the communication alone is positive. What do you think?
I agree. And now, it does kind of freak me out a little bit that we're getting 2 balance changes in as many weeks. And I know this has been talked about, just as... So, they make a balance change. We learn the meta. They make a balance change. Now we're going to have to learn a whole new meta. What happens if they go, oh, we overtuned this, or we didn't tune that, and now we're making a third How is anybody going to learn this meta? Especially that small, tiny, competitive community that we were talking about. I saw Bloody Face tweet yesterday at Dean, are these changes going to affect the Masters Tour Arlington? And he was like, Dean could say was, well, honestly, we don't know because there's no timeline yet. So
they have in recent days made some changes to some of their esports where they played on a past patch. They've done some of the tournaments over in Asia Pacific and whatnot, but I don't see it. Maybe as a competitor, this can be frustrating, but as somebody who's a viewer and watches this game from the outside and likes to watch competitive esports in Hearthstone, I like that the meta is not going to settle. As somebody who competes in a tournament series, THL, I like that the meta is not going to settle, because this allows fluidity in my gameplay. This allows fluidity when I'm watching people compete. And those that succeed in an environment like this, to me, are some of the best players because they've learned to adapt over quick change. Now, we've seen changes this quick and fluctuated before, mainly after third sets in the year. Kobolds and Catacombs had quite a few nerfs after it. Even Rusticon's Rumble had a nerf within 2 weeks after its launch. So this isn't unheard of for the third set in the year, which usually has a higher ramped in power because it's going to be in standard the least amount of time. It's not unheard of to have changes happen multiple times. Now, the difference with this, and we're kind of getting into the next news topic, is at the end of this month, just before Arlington, the solo content Galakrond's Awakening is supposed to arrive. It's saying 3 weeks now in the launcher. And that's going to introduce 35 new cards. Now, I don't know if that's going to be so many cards per week. I don't know which cards are going to be legal for Arlington or not. So obviously,
what are the dates for Arlington?
Arlington is January 31st through February 2nd.
Okay, so
and
3 weeks from this week would put that dropping somewhere around the Tuesday, the 21st.
So if all 35 cards came out the 31st, I don't see it being a problem. But customarily, these solo contents come out in 4 to 5 week chunks. So, and usually those cards come out with each wing. So if you do, 5 weeks and split that up to 7 cards a week, that means some of these cards will be released before Arlington and some of them won't.
Right.
So how is that going to affect? Also, how is that going to handle qualifiers after Arlington? There's a huge impact and this is something communities wanted. They've wanted both 135 card sets and solo content with cards so that we're getting 6 sets of drops of cards, 3 big ones and then 3 small ones. But how does that impact the competitive scene? And also, how does that impact the casual ladder scene when you're just like these nerfs constantly switching?
Yeah.
To me, it's a positive thing because it's constantly keeping me on my toes. After a nerf, after any new cards, even if it's just one card comes out, I want to play the meta to see how it's changed and how I can translate that meta to be either successful or unsuccessful. And it doesn't sound like they're going to be letting up on changes until probably shortly before the new set gets announced.
Yeah, I agree. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out, and I, for one, hope they release all 35 cards because you're going to have to use them in the wings. But we'll see. We'll see.
That one, I don't think it's going to happen.
I don't either. But we'll
I think they're going to do. You're going to have the ones that impact those wings the most trickled out, and it's going to be like the classic solo content we saw before, where you either beat certain wings, or maybe they give them to you before when you unlock the wings, so that you can use those in the wing. I don't know. They did tell us that this is going to be a linear story, not like a roguelike like we've been used to. Mm-hmm. So you're going to see the solo content's going to be more similar to Knights of the Frozen Throne, where you're telling a story up, I assume, wings. So we'll just have to, with maybe 3 or 4 bosses per wing. Again, exact details haven't come out, but that's kind of what they've alluded to. If they do it that way, I'm really excited to see how this happens. And I hope they do this again for future solo content, especially since it is another way to flip the meta around without having to like bring back wild cards or make just one new card, snip snap, to change the meta up. But there will be a pay gate behind it because you'll have to pay gold or money to unlock those cards. Right. But you have to pay gold or money to unlock the new Descent of Dragons cards anyway, so it's not like that's an unheard of pay gate.
Yeah. All right. Well, that brings us to this week's Tavern Brawl, which is Servant of Yogg-Saron tryouts. Help Yogg-Saron find a servant. Your deck is full of wannabes who cast a random spell at a random target. Now, interesting that this Tavern Brawl didn't drop on Wednesday, like Tavern Brawls usually do.
No, it dropped on Thursday, which was really throw everybody off because they were like, hey, where's my Tavern Brawl? But if you looked at your calendar, it was the 1st. It was the 1st of January on Wednesday. I wouldn't expect people in Blizzard to work on January 1st. To me, that'd be cruel and unusual. So it didn't bother me so much, but it did bother quite a few people in the community because that's a day off for them. And it would have been nice if they would have pre-scheduled this so it rolled out. But the problem is, if something happens, if something malfunctions, nobody's there.
Yeah.
Except for probably a skeleton crew of engineers to fix and patch a problem with the brawl. Now, this is a brawl that has been out before. I won and done this by I think I ended up getting a summoned a minion for me, which summoned the 10 mana 6/6 that summons a 6-drop every turn.
Yeah.
And this happened on like turn 3, and my opponent just rage quit. It roped out every turn, and my opponent just left. So I was like, okay, he just put his phone back in his pocket, finished what he was doing, washed his hands, and flushed the toilet. So not necessarily in that order. But he clearly was not happy with the outcome of the Tavern Brawl.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, that brings us to this week's deck analysis. And as we have alluded in previous conversations this week, we are talking about Galakrond Warrior. So this is a deck list that Zerotio himself has been playing and submitted. So I'll run down the deck list, and then I'll turn it over to him to kind of talk about it. So it's 2 Eternium Rovers, 2 Shield Slam, 2 Town Criers, 1 Acidic Swamp Ooze, 2 Ritual Chopper, 2 Warpath, 1 Acolyte of Pain, 2 copies of Awaken, 2 Scion of Ruin, 2 Shield Block, 2 Devoted Maniacs, 1 Spellbreaker, 2 Brawl, 1 copy of Leroy Jenkins, 1 Plague of Wrath, 2 Shield of Galakrond, 1 Ziliax, 1 Kronk's Dragonhoof, and of course, 1 copy of Galakrond the Unbreakable.
Mm-hmm.
So, what the heck are we looking at here, Zerotio? How does this work?
So Galakrond Warrior is really popular right now. There are at least 3 functional, 6 total that I've found, different lists, ranging from an aggressive style to a more tempo style to even a combo style. There's one that uses Leroy and it damages it and makes a bunch of copies of Leroy on the board to go face. This is kind of more leaning towards a control version of Galakrond. It's closer to Control Warrior in my opinion, though you can push the envelope and push damage face pretty quickly when you need to mid to late game. I know I've had quite a few times that I've been whittling away at my opponent, just snipping damage here and there, but focusing on just keeping his board clear. And then out of nowhere, I can throw down a Leroy and double invoke, and now I'm doing 12 points of damage right out of hand. So it's definitely has some fire in it, but this version here with the Plague of Wraths and 2 copies of Brawl is a little bit more on the defensive side, and that's what I like about it.
Okay, so more defensive control. What do you find are the best and worst matchups that you're seeing for this deck?
So one of the worst matchups, and I'll pull up the stats I have on it. One of the worst matchups is Priest. The Resurrection Quest Priest is pretty bad to face against. The Shaman is pretty good. It's not got a spectacular win rate against it, but it's above 53%. So it can beat it on a more consistent basis. You can be outpaced with face decks like the Face Hunter, though if you could prioritize armor generation and some heal, you can kind of battle that back, because a lot of times they'll try to ignore your Eternium Rover, especially if you have an Eternium Rover that you put a Ziliax on. They do their best to try to go around it or not address it at all. So that gives you time to kind of, take advantage of that armor generation and that healing.
Okay.
So
I want to real quick say hey to Andrew's Living and his raiding party. Welcome to Hero Power. We are discussing the merits of Galakrond Warrior and getting ready to go play a little on the ladder. So you are just in time.
Thank you. Appreciate the raid, Andrew. You are a godsend. No, but like I was saying, this version here is a little bit more towards the armor generation and control. You do want to use your Scions of Ruin. I don't want to say sparingly, but pick your times to use it. If you can, utilize all 3 of them trading at the same time. And there are times that you can play the Scions of Ruin before the invokes have happened, depending on your situation. Like I have purposely played a Scion of Ruin knowing that my opponent had a freezing trap. So I could just bounce the Scion of Ruin back into my hand, and I popped the freezing trap. And then the next turn, I play an evoke card, and now my Scion of Ruin, while a little more expensive, it's getting that value, and I don't have to worry about the freezing trap stifling any kind of trading during an important part of the turn. Warpath is also really good, and the Awaken, while it seems really pricey just for another Whirlwind effect, the fact that it invokes and it can activate your Acolyte of Pain or Eternium Rover is a good swing turn where you play Acolyte of Pain, you play the Awaken, you swing in to clear some of those minions, and you're drawing a card on top of that. Mm-hmm. Is some really good swingy control turns that are just, I mean, to me, they're lights out. Okay. One of the most important cards, of course, aside from Galakrond, is Kronk's Dragonhoof, and it's important to know how to play him properly. A lot of people like to save it for the activation, so you want to be Galakrond when you play it so you can get his devastation cards. However, sometimes you just need to play Kronks to get your Galakrond. And you don't always have to play Galakrond invoked 4 times. The fact that you get to draw cards and give him +4/+4 is just good. If you wait too long, you won't have four minions to draw anyways.
Okay.
So it's very matchup dependent.
Yeah. Andrew says this deck has been giving him some grief lately on the ladder, especially once they hit the infinite scions. It just gets crazy insane. So
yeah, there are ways to get infinite scion. Now this version doesn't focus on the infinite scions part, but there are versions that can. Again, this is the little more control-y side of it that has worked for me because I'm a control player, and I like this one better. I have played the kind of infinite one, and it has a combo of getting a bunch of Leroys out. Yeah, no baristas. A bunch of Leroys out to kind of burst damage at you. I don't like that one, so I mean I like it, but it doesn't favor me as well as this deck does.
All right. Well, I look forward to seeing this deck in action, so let's get to it. If you are joining us on Twitch or YouTube, please stay tuned. We are going to jump right into the live play portion of our show. If you are listening to us on our audio podcast, we'd like to thank you for joining us. And remember, you can follow us on Twitter at HeroPower_cast. You can find all of our past episodes on YouTube at youtube.com/ECMMOGamers or over on our website at HeroPowerHS.com. If you enjoy the show, you'd like to help support and improve it, you can do that by joining our Patreon over at patreon.com/HeroPower. And we'll see you all again next week.
And don't forget to use your hero power to smack it.
All right.
You gotta smack it.
That's right. So you ready to find a worthy opponent?
I sure am.
All right.
Are you ready to watch me find a worthy opponent? I am ready
to fight the spectate boss as soon as you...
I had to make sure I was queuing up the right deck instead of the G-Roy Jenkins deck that I had. That's why I call the Leroy Jenkins combo version of Galakrond. It's G-Roy Jenkins. So Mage can't... let me see if I can look at my stats from last season because I played more last season with this deck.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. Mage stats show me. Oh, I guess I was 3-0 versus Mage before the end of the month, so I guess it's not too bad. Rogue and Priest is really tough.
All right, so our opening hand is Acidic Swampooze, Warpath, Spellbreaker, and Galakrond. What are we looking for in our mulligans with this deck?
Well, you want to get your early Eternium Rovers and Ritual Choppers, anything that's going to invoke soon. Acolyte Pain's really a pain to deal with early. I'm just going to throw everything back right now. I don't think we need to keep any of this. Even the Warpath could be useful, but honestly, they're looking to get big minions out, or just utility minions, which aren't really a big deal. The Devoted Maniac can be really good. I like the shield block just to get us some draw. Warpath again. I don't know what versions of Mage are popular right now.
Well, last week on the show, we played a fun Highlander Mage from Guy Grumpy. So
that's true.
We could see a Highlander style.
Ooh. Book of Specters, and he ditched a Flame Strike, a Power of Creation. Oh, that was horrible.
Wow.
That was really... So we have time.
Good spells gone.
Like, why would you run Book of Specters in... And if this is a Highlander list, that Power of Creation and Flame Strike is going to be real... He's going to miss it. I'm just going to Hero Power. I might just tempo out a Devoted Maniac next turn, depending what he plays. I might just shield block. Okay, so he's just tempoing out a... So we could coin out Devoted Maniac, hit it with our face and clear one of the 1/1s with the Devoted Maniac. We could just shield block. The benefit of doing the Devoted Maniac play is it puts an invoke on the stack.
Yes. I don't know. Maybe we go for the card draw and the armor with the shield block for now.
Okay, I don't hate that. I don't want that to stick around too long. Oh, that's the Awaken will be good. I don't want to actually. Yeah, I don't want to stick around too long because I don't want him to Ziliax it. So if he doesn't push any more damage,
we could shield slam it and awaken.
That's what I'm thinking. And that sets us up for a Devoted Maniac next turn.
Yeah.
To have two invokes on the stack before we play Kronks and get Galakrond into our hand. I don't hate that. We'll shield because we got the other shield slam now, so I'm less worried about that. And then we'll awaken. We'll just swing this to face. And what this does is this makes sure Ziliax doesn't have a target.
Right.
That's the most important thing is making sure
Yeah.
Ziliax doesn't have a target. It's not so much removing a threat. Because that wasn't a huge threat just by the body and damage itself. That Book of Specters was horrible.
Zephrys on 5. So what could he be
Zephrys
going for here?
It's going to give him a 6-drop. Or it's going to give him a 2-drop that he can play now. I don't think he knew what he wanted because he would have picked faster.
Okay.
Oh, he got a Brightwing. Well, a 3-drop, yeah, not 2-drop. So we can just deal with this with the Devoted Maniac.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. Devoted Maniac. Rush in.
Hit.
Clear one with our face. Kill the other one. Yep.
I'm not so much worried about our face. I would like to get some damage so I have something to heal with Ziliax. Presumably, I want a Kronks this turn.
Oh, there's you something that can do some damage.
That's not. I mean, having the Plague of Wrath can be good. I think we just Kronks to make him run the 8/8 into it.
Okay, and draw our Galakrond.
And draw our Galakrond. And even if he... what's that 4-drop card that I said was going to be awesome and nobody believed me? If he does that on the Mountain Giant, we can deal with it with Warpath and Plague of Wrath.
Okay.
So, because turn 7 we can do that. We're probably not going to want to... Well, I guess if we Galakrond next turn, we'll go to 10 cards in our hand. And we can ditch the coin.
Siamat.
Rush. Divine Shield.
Yep.
Well, we can just deal with that, right?
Yep.
So we just Warpath Plague Wrath?
That's what I think.
I don't see a much better board to do that. This is clearly a Highlander deck. His Power Creation's gone. Flame Strike's gone. Yeah, I think we just Warpath Plague Wrath. And then I'm going to coin out the Town Crier. I'm trying to eliminate some hand
Cards
size.
out of your hand. Yeah, that's good.
Scion of Ruin is a great pickup. We have invoked twice.
Yep.
And just because we have Galakrond in our hand doesn't mean we have to play him right away. We can invoke some more. So he's not going to have that many good spells. He's probably going to Yogg Box here. What else is he going to do? He doesn't want to Blizzard this board. Doesn't want to Holy Nova. Arcane Breath? Okay. And he got a card, so he has a dragon in his hand.
Well, there's Ritual Chopper.
So Ritual Chopper doesn't.
Isn't enough to kill it.
No, but we could Ritual Chopper and Ziliax.
We could.
We can Ritual Chopper and Scion, leaving a couple minions on the board. We can still armor up after that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I mainly want to get the Invoke going. But this will give us a couple extra bodies. I don't mind, like I said, I don't mind taking the face damage this early. He's not going to push a huge amount. I do get a kick out of these guys that run the legend card back right at the beginning of the month. It's like it intimidates some people, but it doesn't intimidate me. I had a guy who ran a legend card back, and then I beat him. And after the match, he said, "You'll never get the legend." And I said, "It's okay. I do it most months." And he's like, "Prove it." And then so I dueled him with the card back, and then he just shut up, I guess.
Yeah.
What
do you think about spell breaking or?
I want to kill it.
Yeah.
The thing is, the best way to probably kill. See, so if we Galakrond now, we'll go up to 7, and we can shield slam it.
That's true.
And we'd have to run both of the minions in, though.
Yeah.
I don't know how beneficial that is. If we Galakrond, that's only 4. That's 10 damage total. I think that's probably. I wish we were on 1 extra mana. Yeah, I'm gonna Galakrond.
Okay.
And then shield slam it, and then run the 2 minions in. Okay, Acolyte Pain's good. All right. If I drew an Eternium Rover, I would have played it immediately, but I didn't.
So we have 6/6 rush devoted maniac's not bad.
No, it's not bad at all, actually. Running it alongside the Ziliax will clear that.
So he only played 1.
So we can. Would love to see an Eternium Rover.
So 4, 5, 6. So if we devoted Awaken, that would put us up to like 7 attack.
We could clear 1. It would clear the other, but one wouldn't die by 1 point.
Yeah.
I'm more inclined to Devoted and Ziliax and clear 1 and let him.
Well, I would probably clear the Alex Strauss.
Yeah, I would too. I would too. So it's Devoted. Ziliax will run both of these into Alex, and I'll go face with the 4. So I've had a few matchups where I've been rocking a hard place. They've had a lot of big minions out, and I've Leroyed and brawled to victory.
Yeah.
I even had Jolly watching me one day, and it was just amazed. He's like, I would not have made that play, but it's what won you the game.
Well,
I was
it
like,
gives you the 2 extra 1/1s in the brawl. So
yeah. But it just seems like a bad idea. I've even had to do it. I've done it more often when they've had like a taunt in play or multiple taunts in place, and I just throw the Leroy down, then brawl. I don't even push any damage with it. It feels bad. I don't think that's where we got to go this time. Let's Town Crier first. I think we'll get a. Yeah, we're dead. We'll get a Scion.
Yeah.
So we can Scion, trade them all into the Nose Dormu and use our face to clear the Ziliax.
Yes.
And we can still throw down an Acolyte of Pain. You like that?
Should you awaken first? Or.
I don't think we need to awaken
Okay.
him.
Okay, you're talking about just using your hero power. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we could.
I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, you could Acolyte awaken.
Yeah, let's Acolyte Awaken. And then throw down the Scion. I mean, it's kind of...
It's a half dozen of one
Yeah.
and 6 of the other.
6 of the other. I don't hate that. I would have liked to seen our Shield of Galakrond earlier, but we are going to have to start getting some damage chipped.
Yes. And he's still got a dragon. He only played one dragon from...
Yeah, he only got to play...
So he still has a 0-cost dragon.
Oh, wow. It's going to fill up our hand. We're going to burn a card. But... So he's going to try to fatigue us? So at this point, I think we're going to start just pushing as much damage to face. Because he's kind of put us on a clock.
Yeah.
I want to draw a Ritual Chopper. No, Ritual Chopper. We didn't draw the Ritual Chopper. Which means we'll probably burn it. It's 50-50.
Yeah, it's 50-50. And it was.
So the shield block's kind of a dead card in our hand. I think we just double shield to Galakrond since we know he doesn't have Flame Strike.
I agree.
And push face?
Yep.
Or do we just play one alongside of Eternium Rover so we have some armor generation? And use our hero power? I like that better.
Okay.
So this is still the same amount of damage going to face. 6. But I'm not going to play both Eternium Rovers. Because I do want to preserve a little bit of damage. A little bit of flexibility for next turn. Okay. We're going to do that again, I think. There's a Conjurer's Calling. Ooh. That's interesting. Oh, he got rid of it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So I'm trying to... Oh, I really want to push damage, but that's going to be tough for us. See, we can do 9. We might have to just Eternum Rover Brawl. And then I would probably 6 Swampoos and Hero Power.
Okay.
Actually, I think we acidic Swampoos, then Brawl, and then I play the Eternium Rover. Yeah, let's do that. If he has a Leroy, I don't know if this deck runs it, but if he has a Leroy, we'd probably lose. That's 4 damage. Spell power is going to be annoying. This is probably game.
Fireball or a
Just about
Pyroblast.
anything. Yeah, just pretty much any spell damage from hand. Though, if he's running the Tortollan Pilgrim in a Highlander list, I don't know how much face burn he has. Okay, so that tells me he's not trying to get lethal this turn. Is there a potential
No.
lethal?
6,
10.
7, 8, 9, 10.
Well, let me run this to face. Ice Barrier, okay.
All right, that eliminates any possibility. So
But we might be able to live a turn. Oh, maybe not.
Yeah, I think you just...
Yeah. Hold on. Yeah. So, Warpath. Galakrond. So that gives us the best chance to live. We'll take 2 from fatigue. That's 4. He can ping us in the face. Polymorph, that'll do it.
Yeah.
Oh, Arcane Breath.
No.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. Fatigue.
Yeah, you got the Polymorph off Arcane Breath.
Yeah.
That wasn't bad.
All right. That
Definitely,
was game 1.
It definitely fast-forwarded us a bit when he was able to Relicologist on
The Acolyte
the
of Pain.
beefed-up
Yeah.
Acolyte. Yeah. I was not expecting that lineup play, because usually you don't want to have the Warrior draw a bunch of cards. But and honestly, if we would have gotten we would have been better spot if we would have gotten the Chopper instead of one of the taunts.
Another mage.
Perpy.
Not quite purple, but perpy.
No. I think we keep the Ritual Chopper and throw everything else. Maybe we keep the Shield Block just for early armor and card draw.
I don't hate that. Yeah, I would throw back the Brawl and the Plague.
Because with one Chopper, I want to get a second Invoke and then get the Scion. Oh, this is a good curve. I like opening with a Eternium Rover against Mage because they have a hard time doing 3 damage. This is actually looking to be a decent hand with 2 Ritual Choppers.
Well, at least with both Ritual Choppers in our hand, we know we can't burn one later.
That's true. And more importantly, it's early sneak damage. He's pinging it?
Okay. So hit him for 5?
Yeah, I think so. So that's 5 this turn. I don't really want a Ritual Chopper next turn. Probably Shield Block. Okay. Ooh. I like Shield Block here.
Yeah, I think so.
And it seems really weird, especially with that draw. I think I'm going to swing 1 damage to face.
Okay.
This kind of telegraphs that we probably have the other Ritual Chopper. This gives us flexibility next turn. We can Ritual Chopper Hero Power. We can Devoted Maniac. We can coin Galakrond, Shield of Galakrond. I think we Ritual Chopper, Hero Power, coin Eternium Rover. And swing face for 4.
Yeah, I don't hate it.
Because we have in our hand for a Galakrond with the 5/2 weapon in our.
Yeah, we need to push damage fast, so we don't end
Yep.
up in another situation like last game.
I agree. So let's just threaten that face damage.
Instead of playing it like a control deck, let's play it like a tempo aggro.
Yeah. In this matchup, you're probably right. I didn't play a lot of Mage last month, and obviously Mage has gotten popular. So maybe you just gotta, you can't take them for the long game because that's what their deck is built for.
Yeah.
That's fine. I'm happy that hit that instead of my Galakrond weapon when it happens. Shield of Galakrond face.
Yep.
This is setting us up for a turn 7 fully invoked Galakrond. He trades both these minions, I'm fine. We'll devote a Maniac next turn.
That looks like a
Change.
decent target for the...
For the devoted Maniac.
Yep.
I think so too. The question is, do we go face with the other three?
What about? Yeah, I think we do. That way we can set up the Galakrond. Let's stay on the Galakrond plan for 7.
Okay. This kind of negates. Do we play? Go ahead and just play the acidic swamp ooze to have a minion out.
Yep. We know he's not going to be running a weapon, so.
Yeah.
Now do we brawl? That's the question.
Not now that he traded.
Okay.
No, I think we Galakrond.
We Galakrond and then Kronks next turn.
We can Kronks next turn, yeah. I think we just Galakrond face. Hopefully we draw Leroy Jenkins off this. Probabilities are fairly high. We're getting 4 minions. No Leroy. We did get a Devoted Maniac. Oh, we got a Scion or Ruin.
That's good.
You just go face.
Yep.
Scion might be able to single-handedly clear with this. Though we might end up brawling.
I don't hate Scion Brawl.
Scion deals with just about everything on this board.
Okay. What is
Actually,
the Scion? It's a 7/6.
It's a 7/6.
So it can clear everything but the giant.
Actually, hold on. Let's Town Crier first. This is guaranteed to give us. Well, no, it could have gotten us a Ziliax. So we can double Scion and use one of the small Scions to finish off
And clear everything. Yeah.
Mountain Giant. So yeah, let's big Scion. Clear. One goes here.
One goes into the 8/8, and one into the 5/6, and then.
What about if we just use the small one to clear the 8/8?
Yeah,
and we have a bigger one left on board?
That works.
And then we'll send 5 damage to Dome. So this threatens a more reliable lethal.
Now he needs to hope he has his either Blizzard or Flame Strike in his.
He needs Blizzard. If he Flame Strikes, he can't kill the 5/6, and we win with Kronks.
That's true.
So he needs Blizzard.
Free spell. There's
Blizzard. Trying to think what lethal outs we. Leroy's not lethal. That's 6. That's 9 damage. Town Crier's going to draw a Ziliax.
Yeah.
So if we devote a Maniac, we can go to face for 6 with our hero power.
That's true.
I like that. Setting up for a Kronks lethal next turn.
Yeah, because he's already used his heal in Ziliax.
Yes. So that goes there. Go face. And then let's just play down the Town Crier to draw us. I guess we could Acolyte of Pain. Acolyte of Pain punishes any board clear he has. And honestly, we don't care if he does like they did last game, because we pretty much have lethal threat in our hand. And not just Relicologist will do this board, because there's a total of 13 health on the board. So he'd need more than just Relicologist. So we're learning from last game.
Exactly. The more you know.
Caligos.
He's digging.
He doesn't have an obvious pick. He's torn between the two outside cards.
Frost Nova.
Huh?
Yes.
Not to do it. Not going to do it. He thinks it's going to do it.
Kronks.
Yes, Kronks for the 5 dome damage. We actually had a couple ways to win. Well, that's not what I picked.
No,
he must have conceded. He must have conceded too fast.
He conceded as soon as he saw Kronks.
All right.
If as anybody knows, if you concede while Kronk's discoverability is up, the AI auto picks one.
Yep.
So,
all right, we're gonna go one more.
One more. We're 1-1.
All right. And I see Ducharmo in chat, man. Thanks for hanging out with us. We had 2 people join our organization because they heard. Oh, awesome! So Ducharme was able to get some publicity for THL. That's absolutely great. Okay. So
Warrior versus Warrior.
In the last 24 hours, I've learned that there's a lot of Pirate Warrior out there.
Okay.
So I want to keep this whole hand. The Acolyte of Pain early kind of really throws them off their game. They go out of their way to try to do 3 damage straight to it.
Uh-huh.
The Awaken will help clear early minions, and the Ritual Chopper also. So I like just all of this. And if it ends up being a mirror match, then we have plenty of time to draw into what we need.
Okay.
But historically, it's been a lot of Pirate lately, not so much this version of Galakrond. Which we'll probably know if it's Pirate fairly early. Okay, so it is not Pirate. It is likely a mirror match.
Galakrond Warrior, yeah.
I don't hate just Ritual Choppering this down, because we're going to have the long game. Get rid of it early before you generate lots of.
Now is when we focus on the control aspect of this deck.
Yes. Now this also could be, the Leroy combo version. There's a dragon version. Oh wow, that's an early acidic Swamp Ooze. I do not hate that.
So we don't want to play Acolyte here, do we?
I'm not so worried about getting maximum card draw on this. If we play Acolyte and he trades the Ooze into it, it sets up for us to awaken next turn with whatever else he plays.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, it gives us options. We can either awaken or we can Devoted Maniac next turn.
Yeah, of course. But that'll put the
either way we're getting an invoke and an attack with our face.
That's right. And we don't want to assume this is Galakrond because we haven't seen. Okay, so there's a Galakrond. So he's going to use his face now, and this sets us up for a Devoted Maniac turn.
Yeah.
We'll use our face to clear the Devoted Maniac, and Devoted Maniac to clear the Swamp Ooze, setting us up for a Shielded Galakrond next turn. Okay. This is writing itself.
Yep.
Of course, we've
now invoked twice, and have the ability to invoke 2 more times.
That's correct. Wow. So this kind of telegraphs to me that he's trying to fast track to Galakrond, meaning he might have Galakrond in hand.
Probably.
So that means I need to put on the pressure to make him deal with stuff.
Yep.
Punish him for not saving that Awaken. Plus, he doesn't have a lot of other cards in his hand very well, because he wouldn't have just Awakened on an empty board.
Shield block?
Yeah, I think we shield block to open. There's a Devoted Maniac. I think we just Hero Power and go face. What do you think?
I don't hate that.
I really don't want to Awaken right now, just because there's better opportunities for Awaken later. Plus, we can use the armor for shield slam right now.
Yep.
Build it up so that if he does put a big threat. Okay, so this might be a mirror. So far, it's a mirror match. Okay, so there's his shield slam. Okay, so devote a maniac into the town crier.
Yep.
And then what?
Eternium Rover.
Eternium Rover hero power.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Okay. Still keeping us up on the armor points. See, he's already used the shield slam.
Right.
Early, I might add.
Okay.
So he's going to hit the Eternium Rover? No, he's going to go
he's going to go face?
No, he has to hit the Eternium Rover. Okay.
All right. So now we have a shield slam target.
Is that what we do here?
Well,
so my original thought was Leroy awaken. Well, hit with the Devoted Maniac first. Leroy awaken and use our face to finish off the 4/5, leaving a 6/1 charger on the board. But now that I drew the Plague of Wrath, I kind of want to keep the awaken. So I think you're right. I think we just shield slam that.
And go face for 2 and hero power?
Yeah, I think so.
Keep building up that armor?
Yeah. I mean, now that we use one of the shield slams, it's less important. I really like the awaken play until I drew that Plague of Wrath.
Right.
That's a really dull line. I just don't see the Leroy sticking on the board.
No. I mean, you could Leroy run the Maniac into one of the 1/1s and then Leroy face.
I guess that's the same thing as trying to run the Awaken, isn't it?
I mean, or you could Leroy Warpath. But
so, yeah.
I mean, or you could save the Warpath for the Plague. That's one less mana if you don't multiple use the Warpath.
Yeah, I like the Awaken in Leroy this turn. So let's go face Leroy, Awaken, and push for 9. This is just pushing pressure, and he has to deal with the Leroy.
Right.
Now, he likely has an easy way to deal with the Leroy, but we're maximizing pressure because he's getting to a point where he wants to do his 4th invoke and get Galakrond online. I want to slow that down.
Yeah.
Okay, this is fine. We can just Warpath that down.
Yep.
Let's shield block first. Or just Ziliax it.
There you go. I'll see your Ziliax with a Ziliax.
That's why you always draw first to see if other options. We might have drawn a Eternium Rover and put the Eternium Rover and then Warpath with it to maximize. It might have gotten us a Spellbreaker. We'd rather Spellbreak. It might have given us a Scion Ruin. There's a lot of reasons why you want to draw first. Okay.
We're going to get a double heal. Oh, nope. He's going to kill it. Nope. We're going to get a double heal while he only got a single heal. So
now he kind of negates the heal with the face damage, but yeah, I mean, we have that armor. We're at effectively 47 health. Do we just play it and then hero power? We're the aggressor now.
We are. So I think we need to keep that. We need to keep the pressure on.
We need to draw Galakrond.
We do.
We've hit our 4. We've hit our 4 invokes. He's looking for a big swing turn. Unfortunately, that can involve Leroy. Okay, it's baiting out of Warpath. I don't hate that. I want Kronks or Galakrond with this draw. Because we're getting low on minions to get. There's Galakrond.
Good.
So Galakrond, then hero power because we don't need the armor.
Yes.
And then go face for, what's that going to be, 8?
Yep.
Okay. Good.
Good.
So
I was going to say, I don't hate Sign of Ruin for...
I want it to be reactory, but I want to play the Eternium Rover.
Okay.
I mean, a 5/7 is going to generate us even more armor.
Yeah.
He's got to find a way to deal with that. And he concedes. He got ahead of the mirror.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of comeback when you get behind like that with this deck. You kind of got to get ahead and stay ahead.
Yeah.
In a mirror.
Yes. So there you go. 2-1 in 3 games with Galakrond Warrior. You saw us play it as a control deck. You saw us play it as an aggro aggressor deck. And you saw us play it as a we don't know what we're doing deck. So there was all facets in all 3 games. It was awesome.
The reason I like this version is because it can pivot back and forth. It truly is kind of a control side of a tempo or mid-range deck, but you can kind of pivot back and forth. And it has some huge burst potential. You can get like a good 9 to 15 damage out in one turn.
Yes, you can. And I mean, there's multiple different ways to drop lots of damage really quickly. So. And
that's not even drawing a Leroy off of your Galakrond. That's huge when that can happen.
Right. So, all right, guys, that's going to do it for us this week. We want to thank you for joining us live if you were able to. We want to thank you for watching on Twitch or YouTube if you are watching afterwards. If you have any questions or comments about the show, feel free to email us at heropowerpodcast@gmail.com. Do us a favor, please. Hit that subscribe button on YouTube if you've not done so, or give us a follow on Twitch to be alerted when we go live. For more details about our patron-only Discord and other things, check out patreon.com/heropower. And until next week, good gaming.
Bye, guys.